Yes, on the Punch newspapers this morning, it's of course still talking about governance and Nigerian presidency. It says here, Buhari, Osinbajo, others to get 63 billion naira as pensioners kick. And this is with regards to jumbo severance package. Hear that again. Buhari, the Nigerian president and vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, others to get 63 billion naira. Pensioners kick us on page 2. Ministers, governors, commissioners, National Assembly members, and special advisors to benefit. It's inhuman. Pensioners who worked for 35 years, not paid for 10 years, says the union. And economic slam politicians say they are insensitive. RMFAC to review remuneration. And this is important because when the current administration in Nigeria was coming into power in 2015 or 2014-2015, there are certain statements that they made and certain promises that they made with regards cutting down on government expenditure and wastage in government. They talked about reducing the number of aircraft in the presidential fleet. They spoke about putting a stop to traveling overseas for healthcare and some of all of that. But absolutely none of this has been done. And also cutting down on government expenditure, wastage of government funds, none of that has taken place.
I mean, that
it seems to have gotten worse.
Yeah, that was one of the key messages in the Oronsai report, but that hasn't been implemented. Very recently, there were conversations about how cutting governance would make a huge difference. But as we realize, those things are the perks that lure people into government, not actually service. If you take away all these perks, a lot of people who are actually in government right now wouldn't go. They wouldn't serve.
It seems to have
it ought to be service.
Absolutely,
but they wouldn't serve. But now it's just a bore.
I read yesterday of a Nigerian government agency that spent 89 billion naira on publicity, and the year before, the year previous, spent 21 billion naira on just PR. And this is an agency that a lot of people would argue should not even exist in the first place.
Wow.
All right, still on the Punch. Tinubu, Obi unfold agenda for women. Atiku absent. Flooding. Federal government plans intervention fund. 612 killed. British Prime Minister Sunak sets economic stability agenda. And of course, if you live in any of these states, Lagos, Ogun, Abuja, it says here fuel scarcity grounds these 3 states as commuters are stranded. If you didn't get to fuel your fuel tank a few days ago, well, feel bad for you. Lagos-Ibadan Bridge joints reopen. Driver slammed Julius Berger. And also masked gunmen abduct Lagos motorists in broad daylight. Finally this morning, Bayelsa, Igbo, Kogi governorship polls hold November 11th.
All right, let's still stay in this Nigeria, looking, of course, at this Nigeria. On the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, the big story says 2023, court nullifies all APC primaries in Rivers, sacks governorship National State Assembly candidates. This is interesting. Judgment, travesty of justice, says party. Federal government deploys security alert to Nigeria by foreign embassies on page 8. Fuel scarcities return to Abuja, Lagos, and other states also face hardship. Why we won't support Atiku's bid, Autumn, Benue elders blow hot. We will keep appealing to them, says Momodu. Nigeria may remain poverty capital till 2050, experts warn. And the final story at the top of the paper this morning is court convicts Mama Boko Haram, others over 34 million naira fraud. On page 7, interesting, Mama Boko Haram.
She was popular a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's all that we could take this morning on the front page of this Nigeria.
Now let's go to South Africa and see what's on the Sowetan. It says, Joburg in turmoil. We will vote her out again. Returning Joburg mayor hits ground running, but foes already plotting another vote to oust her after court handed Palache mayorship back. That's on page 3. Also, Asanda sad to leave Dieppe City. We can also see top of the screen, aging beautifully with Jags patina. Ofori's bind on the Derby, and that's in sports. Finally, Butcher Banks on openers fine form. That's on page 20. And of course, a pretty interesting animation there on the screen. All right, those are the stories on the Sowetan.
All right, let's head over to Kenya right now. We're looking at the Daily Nation. On the front page, we have EACC goes for former Moyaite in 2.5 billion shillings case. Man who owns part of Mombasa Airport's runway. Now we have also haggling that led to the rejection of Malonza by MPs. At the top of the paper, conflicting police reports deepen mystery of journalists shooting. The details of that on page 2 and 3. And final story here, home on page 36. Ruto ends Uhuru Kazim Mtani project, says funds will be spent on housing.